Hey folks, it's a man once again, and welcome back to another review. And this is a film that I reviewed once before, but I thought I'd do a better job at the review. Because it's a film that I really enjoy. I think it has an Arrow Blu-ray overseas, but I don't have a region-free Blu-ray player, so I can't get it. I don't understand why this doesn't have a good release here in the US. I think this would be a good pick for Stream Factory, because if they didn't do Mad Max, and some of these other films, they didn't do this film, especially since it's an MGM movie, and they've been doing MGM movies. I mean, they're doing the fucking Species sequels. I think this film deserves a hell lot more than the Species sequels to have a Blu-ray in the U.S. with the features. And that is a great movie called Rollerball with James Caan. And yeah, I know there's the remake, but this is the much better movie, directed by Norman Jewison. And like I said, there's John Houseman, Maud Adams, John Beck, Moses Gunn, and lead being James Caan. This is a great movie. I remember the first time I saw this was on Turner Classic Movies, really enough. And maybe it's not that weird because it is a classic movie. It's a 1975 film where the year is 2018. And there are no wars, no crime. There's only the game, Rollerball, which you find out later. Corporations run everything, and they created Rollerball because they don't want individualism. They don't want everyone. They don't want anyone to think for themselves. They don't want to think that the individual can reign supreme. They want to think that you have to be part of the system, and you have to be part of the group. You can't think for yourself. So you get that great idea, well, I mean, it's not an original idea, but you get that idea for the film, but you also get a kick-ass action movie. Even from the beginning, I really enjoyed the music that they use. Bach's Toccata and Fugue in D minor. And they're getting the ring ready and starting the game. And James Caan's character is named Jonathan, who plays for Team Houston. And anytime the game is played, it's really well done. It's really well directed because it's in wide shots. They have reasonable garb on. It's not goofy. They just have helmets that you can see the faces well enough so we can recognize who is who, but it's believable for the game as well. Same with their costumes, what they wear, their gear. It seems like something that you would see in a football. It's easy to follow. It's easy to see what's going on. They're going in a circle, put a metal ball into a hole. But it's, again, wide shots. The action is in wide shots. It's not up close. It's not multiple cuts and editing. No, let it be wide. Let them see what they can do. It's the actual actors doing it. And it looks like some really painful stunts and really painful shit going on. And this film is definitely R-rated because just some intensity to the impacts that people get when they hit each other. And it's a very dangerous game that people can die in and have died in and will die in. I remember one where the metal ball shoots through this chute and someone unfortunately is knocked out here and it hits the helmet, boom, and they just have roll all the way over. Just the impact of that metal ball hitting that helmet of that guy. Or another one who gets fucked up and he plants face down on the ground and he slides down, and as he slides down, you see a streak of blood follow, where his face was. I mean, it's again a pretty brutal game, and they have these gloves that are kind of spiked metal studs that can be really dangerous, and people flip over on their bikes and there's explosions, and again it's a very well edited, well shot, wide shots. It could be a really brutal game, which the remake, which I'm not seeing the remake again because I remember that piece of shit well enough to rant on that, especially when a fucking film has out of the blue night vision. But I'll get to that. That did not know how to shoot his action, how to film his action. It was confusing. It was, what the fuck? Where's this person? The geography? Where? Here, no. You see where everyone's at, and it's not that fucking hard. They did it back in 1975, but they couldn't do it in a fucking 2002 remake. But anyway, the touches, I enjoy the touches that is the corporations that have owned America now. I mean, they don't even have the American anthem. It's the corporation anthem. Stand up for the corporation anthem. And then when the game is like, ooh, a psycho motorcycle just goes over a guy's head in his helmet. And I'm not saying it's gore, but it's impact. Bit of an intensity to it. Everyone smacks each other. James Caan's friend, a character named Moon Pie, kicks people off their bikes. And I also like the, 70s futures are fun to watch looking back on. Just granted, I mean, 2018, I'm like, man, that's only a couple years from now. It's not going to be like that. But it's still fun to see what people thought of back in the 70s, what the future was. And from little stuff, like when the players go in, people are touching them as in reverence. Oh my God, let me touch you. I touched Jonathan. The best rollerball player in history. And the gist of the plot is John Houseman, who I remember from the movie The Fog, John Carpenter's The Fog, as the old man with the watch telling the story. He says you have to retire, Jonathan. And James Caan doesn't want to retire. And he doesn't understand why he has to retire. But no, you're going to retire. We're going to create this special for you. Talk about your past achievements. And just retire. And again, James Caan, he doesn't want to retire. He's enjoying playing the game. He doesn't understand why. He wants to be there for his teammates. He doesn't understand why he has to retire. And this is a future where if you go to a library, there wasn't actual books. Instead, it's books that are summarized. And even James Caan goes, so this isn't really a library. You don't really have books. You're not really a librarian. And she's like, I'm just a clerk. So he refuses, and they alter the game. So each game gets altered. You have less and less rules. You have more and more brutality. The corporation even gives him this girl that he doesn't really like. And like the only one woman he loved was this ex that at times he watches a video of. And then each game gets more and more brutal. Like they fight this group from Tokyo, and man, they get really fucked up. Driver flips over, and just Ted on the fence, and his friend Moon Pie. People like strip his helmet and hit him on the back of the head, so now he's in the vegetative state. Explosion, people on fire. And then here's James Caan just trying to figure out what the hell's going on. Why is this happening? And again, the way this future is, how there'll be these rich parties, these corporations give out for people. And the rich are so bored that they'll go up and they'll fuck up their environment. They're like, there's this one tree. And I remember when I first saw this, even first reviewed this, I was a bit confused as what the point was. I kind of get it now that it's you should look at it as you will. It's about how they don't give a fuck about the environment, or about how they're so bored they just want to fuck up a tree, or how there's like the one tree and they just say, hey, let's burn it just for shits and giggles, and just shows how fucked up the rich are. I mean, you could go all into it, but the corporation want him to retire. He won't retire, so they alter the games to see if he'll get hurt or killed. When that doesn't happen, they give him his ex-wife, the only person he ever wanted, and you realize they gave him to her so he would quit and retire. Oh, I'm going to retire and quit and be with this woman. But again, the point being, the reason they want to retire is they don't want people to think that the individual can succeed, that the individual can be something, that the individual can amount to something. And that idea appeals to me. I really believe in individualism. I mean, for people who've been on my channel, you should know that's a primary theme with me. I don't follow any group but my own group. I'm really an individualistic person. I think for myself. I make my own opinion. Even if I look at other people's opinions and thoughts, I gather them together to then form my own opinion. Whether before I saw a movie, after I saw a movie, even when I do it, I take what I see and I form my own opinion. Whether you agree or disagree is one thing, but it's still going to be my honest opinion. And so that appeals to me, the individualism against the corporate. And plus, it's in the vein of a really kick-ass action movie about this game. And they get to the final game, and it's not even a game anymore, because no one's trying to score points. It's pretty much just the gladiators. You know, just a match where everyone's fighting everyone, and everyone's fucking everyone up. Blood on the ground, more explosions, fire, and the crowd are getting like, yeah, and then they're getting more quiet, and then they're getting more quiet. It's like, what? And one guy even mentions best, he says, this is supposed to be a game. A game? This wasn't meant to be a game. Never. And Jonathan's the last against these two rivals, and he fucks these two up, and he's all bloodied up, and he's scratched up, and he gets the ball, and he hits the only point of the game. And he goes around, sort of a win for being the individual, and then people start whispering, Jonathan, 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 Jonathan! And then it stops and it freeze frames, and you have that music from the beginning of the film. Thought that was a perfect ending. It's just a really cool movie. You have James Caan. It's my favorite role of his. It's my favorite performance of his. Nice usage of classic music. It's fun to look at the 70s version of the future world. It's fun to look back on that. It's interesting. And they would never do that again, to be honest. When the game is played, it's very well directed, it's well edited. You can see in wide shots, no shitty editing. It's definitely a brutal game. Skates, motorcycles, the actors really doing this. People get smacked, punched, thrown against the fence, down on the ground, kicked off bikes, bikes flying off bikes, explosions, fire, fucked up blood. Again, I don't want to make it seem like it's fucking Dead Alive gory or anything like that, but it is an R-rated film. Definitely. And it's sad that this DVD only has a commentary by the director Norman Jewison. It does have a featurette from back in the day, but I don't understand why this doesn't have a Blu-ray from Blu-ray overseas that I can't watch, but why this does not get a Blu-ray here in the US? Again, I mean, Stream Factory, you guys are doing Mad Max and Escape from New York, but you don't want to do Rollerball? I mean, you're doing all these fucking MGM movies. Like Species 2 and 3 and 4. Who the fuck wants Species sequels? I bet more people would want Rollerball, including me. Get this out on Blu-ray. With James Caan interview from overseas and the other interviews from overseas. I like to hear his thoughts on the film. And more interviews on the film. Before they passed away. But classic movie, love it. I know this is a shorter than usual review, but I didn't want to give every single plot point for people who haven't seen it to check it out. And I wanted to sort of be more straightforward with this review on why I like the film, why I enjoy the movie. I'm surprised there's not more ripoffs. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't do direct-to-video sequels to this movie, because that a lot of times that happens. I mean, Death Race 2, Death Race 3. I'm just surprised no one said, let's do Rollerball 2. I mean, hell, they're doing Hard Target 2. They're doing all these other. They've done all these other fucking direct-to-video sequels. I mean, I know you had the remake, but it doesn't mean I want that. I know there's another movie with Dean Cain that I saw called Future Sport, which was a pretty terrible version of this, a sanitized version of Rollerball. And then again, the remake absolutely sucks. And you hear more about that next time. But again, just wanted to give some thoughts on Rollerball. Great movie by the great James Caan. Well directed. Has some good themes about corporation versus individualism. But on the other end of the spectrum, it's just a well done action film with a deadly game. And maybe that's a question. Would you see a real Rollerball? If Rollerball was real, would you see it, or would you skip it? Probably skip it because, I mean, you say, well, people die. Well, you know, well, more people die in Rollerball than would. I mean, that's the point. Maybe that's not the question. My question, I got a different question. Scratch that. Do you think one day we will see a DMI Rollerball? One day. Not saying you want one. I didn't change that. But do you think, considering how violent it is nowadays, and how fucked up it is nowadays, and how scary it is nowadays, do you think one day we will see a game like Rollerball? You let me know. By the way, thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you later.